Hello and welcome to another edition of the First Pitch Podcast on Pitcher List. My name is Trevor Hooth. Thanks for joining me. And the dust has settled. The deadline has passed. Players have moved. Players have found new homes. And that is a lot of what this podcast is going to be. So we're going to go through some of the more notable, if not as many trades as I can get through in the short time that I have this podcast going on. And also, there were a few games to go over, and we'll take a look at what is happening in the games upcoming today. But the trade deadline was yesterday. Lots of things happened very quickly. I happened to not be by my phone, which took a lot of catching up, but let's see what we got. No particular order on these. Just going to jump in and talk trades, trade deadline, and see if we can't think about some fantasy implications for those. Of course, the biggest trade, the shocking trade, was the Padres acquiring Mason Miller and J.P. Sears for Leo DeVry, Braden Nett, Henry Baez, and another prospect. That's huge. The Padres have turned their bullpen into this ginormous, scary monster of doesn't matter who you throw at the back end of it. It's going to be nasty and it's going to be terrible for the opposite team. But getting Mason Miller, huge for them, obviously. Crazy that they gave up DeVry. DeVry, obviously not somebody who you're looking at in redraft, but dynasty monster, easy top 10, arguably top 5 dynasty prospect, and just real life prospect at that. But definitely a crazy one, going to be interesting. See, this is the only thing about that is if you're looking at back end bullpen work for Mason Miller, it's going to be kind of crowded. You still probably think he's the guy to get it, but they have a lot of guys who they could throw in there. So he may become more of a saves holds guy as it goes. We'll see what the usage looks like. Astros acquiring Carlos Correa in cash. That is something. Correa is probably going to play some third base. Obviously, they need somebody to fill there. Isaac Paredes is out. So we'll see. Correa hasn't been great, but should be getting everyday reps or at least close to at third base. Of course, Eugenio Suarez returning to the Mariners for Tyler Locklear and a pair of pitching prospects. Suarez obviously plugs in every day at third base for the Mariners, so that doesn't change a whole lot for him. Tyler Locklear, though, should jump right in as the everyday first baseman for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He was hitting really well in AAA. I was certainly interested to see because he didn't have any power to start the year. He was hitting for a good average, no power. All of a sudden, that power kicked in. But also he's playing in the PCL, which can be, mess with your mind when you look at those stats. It's a hitter's haven. But he was hitting for more power. He was hitting for a high average. Obviously, he's been in the league in the majors before. Ton of strikeouts. Not the best introduction to Major League Baseball, but with everyday reps at first base available for him, he should turn into, I think, a halfway decent first base option for fantasy baseball. And if you're looking for an upgrade, certainly a guy to take a shot on if he isn't already, rostered by somebody else. And then there's a couple of relievers who should take middle relief roles. The Phillies acquiring Yohan Duran for a catcher who, big fan of Eduardo Tate as a prospect guy, very far away. And also Mick Abel. Abel should be able, didn't do that on purpose, but here we are. Nick's rubbing off on me. Abel should be able to join that Twins rotation pretty quickly if he doesn't start there. I haven't seen where they've assigned him, but I imagine he should get plenty of opportunity at a rotation spot. Of course, Duran, being who he is, will almost certainly be getting save opportunities. They already were in kind of a committee role there, though, so we'll see how much goes to him. If I'm not mistaken, they were in a committee role at least, but should still be a very relevant fantasy reliever. Yankees acquired David Bednar. Interesting that for that one. They also acquired Camilo Duvall. They also have, already Devin Williams, who has struggled but has had some success in the late inning roles. They also acquired Jake Bird, who is going to be on the outside of all this, I'm sure. But we'll see what happens with that Yankees. Who's getting the save opportunities? Again, I wish I knew the answers to this. It's just something we're going to have to watch. They have a lot of guys who could at this point. And Rafael Flores is the interesting one in the return package. Good hitter. Probably doesn't see the majors this year, but off chance he does when rosters expand, I would imagine. Certainly an interesting fit. I think he's basically Henry Davis if we're talking skill set. Rangers acquire Merrill Kelly. That's certainly something. Mets were busy. They traded a lot of guys. Ryan Helsley was one guy that they got. They also got Tyler Rogers. So they sent 6 total prospects in order to do that. I don't know. I think I liked the Helsley return for the Cardinals better than I liked the Rogers return for the Giants. We'll talk about the Rogers return a little bit more because that's more immediate fantasy relevancy. But certainly they did give up some good prospects. And again, they're just improving their bullpen. That's a lot of what this stuff was. And speaking of that Rogers return, those prospects that they gave up, Blade Tidwell has seen the majors this year. And I think he should be able to again soon. They assigned him to AAA, so it's not going to be immediate, but they need rotation help at this point. Hayden Birdsong is still probably not going to be back until he shows command improvements, which means they are rocking 3 guys. Landon Roop is hurt right now, so they're kind of needing help at that big league rotation. So I imagine Blade Tidwell will get opportunity, and he'll get opportunity fairly soon. And maybe Drew Gilbert finds his way into the outfield as well. But I think Tidwell's probably your best bet there. Shane Bieber moving from the Guardians to the Blue Jays. I don't know that the Guardians play in that one, but with all the stuff they got going down, that is certainly something. The Yankees, they made a few different trades, bringing in some infielders. I guess we'll just see how they work out and how that works out. I was not super interested, so I'm going to move on real quick. But I think Jose Caballero is the most interesting of the guys they brought in, at least in my mind. The Reds bringing in Ke'Bryan Hayes. They traded Sammy Stafura and Taylor Rogers. Speaking of Rogers, Ke'Bryan Hayes is an interesting one for me, and I know that everybody has said this always in regards to Ke'Bryan Hayes. But if for whatever reason the Reds can get him to lift the ball a little bit more in Great American Ballpark, he's going to have some decent offensive output. He is hitting the ball on the ground 50% of the time, roughly, give or take, which is what he's done over the last couple years. I think last year he was over 50%. When I checked at the time of his trade, if I remember, it was like 49%. Like he is right there at that 50% mark. If he lifts the ball a little bit more in that cereal box of a ballpark that the Reds play in, hey, he might be able to do some decent fantasy output. Long shot, and definitely something that he's had to do forever and has not done. He's more of a defensive guy. I just think that Ke'Bryan Hayes could get interesting putting him in a smaller park for more games. And so certainly a guy I'm watching. He did hit a home run in the game yesterday, which, I mean, will be mentioned again on this podcast, but just a fun little fact for you. Tigers acquire Charlie Morton, which they made a bunch of moves. Can't say I understood all of them, but I do know Charlie Morton is going to be a rotation arm for them. Troy Melton is going to move to the bullpen. So if you were holding on to Troy Melton, hoping that you were going to get starts out of him, you will not. He is going to be a bullpen arm from this point out. The Tigers believe he's going to be a good bullpen arm for them. I don't know if that means save ops or holds, but he's going to be a bullpen arm. Charlie Morton's going to take a rotation spot for him. And that is unfortunate, but where things are at right now. Astros acquire Jesus Sanchez. They give up Ryan Gusto, both major league level guys. Certainly interesting. Cubs acquire Willie Castro. Just a utility guy for them, definitely. The Dodgers acquired Brock Stewart for James Outman. I'll tell you what, the Twins traded everyone, so James Outman probably going to get plenty of run and get another chance to prove he belongs at the big league level. Going back to the Tigers, they acquired a few other guys. Paul Sewald was one, and I only mention that because in the Tigers were really excited about that one. We'll just put it that way. So then he's not going to be back. He's on the IL, but he could be in contention for late inning work once he is healthy again, which won't be until September. They've already transferred him to the 60-day IL in order to make room for another trade acquisition, which Kyle Finnegan. And Finnegan will be in contention immediately for ninth inning work. But as far as I know, they are not committing to a true ninth inning guy, a true reliever. The Tigers are not. They are going to kind of have options, and AJ Hinch is going to pick from those options unless somebody really comes in and takes over. I imagine Kyle Finnegan is the favorite at this point based on how that late inning work has gone for the Tigers over the course of the year. But it does seem like they are not committing to Kyle Finnegan as, yes, ninth inning is his. They're going to throw some other options out there and see what sticks. I don't know. You got to imagine that's his, though. Angels acquire Oswald Peraza. That is probably not super interesting, but I'm interested to see what a change of scenery will do for Peraza. He's always had some skills. And again, we'll see if a different set of eyes can help out. Really liked this one. Thought this one was interesting. Cubs acquire Michael Soroka for Christian Franklin and Ronnie Cruz. Soroka going to the Cubs. I believe you're still just going to be getting Michael Soroka, but Christian Franklin may be able to work his way into a big league role, which I didn't think he could do with the Cubs. I think he was going to be blocked barring some injuries. But now that he's in the Nationals organization, if he continues to hit at the AAA level, he may be able to work his way. It may not be till, it might be an expanding roster situation, but certainly an interesting name, a guy who I've liked since his draft year. And we'll see what the Cubs can do with Soroka. Astros in pursuit of covering third base. Mentioned Correa was there. They also got Ramon Urias, and they traded away. This is why I'm mentioning it. They traded away probably the best name that got traded, Twine Palmer. I believe his middle name is Roland. I think he's Twine Roland Palmer, which is just amazing, guys. I love it. That's why I'm mentioning it. All right. Moving on to some of these other trades. The Braves acquired Carlos Carrasco. He made a start for them already, so he is going to be – they need starters, so he'll be doing some pitching for them. Obviously, they also got Eric Fetty. Rays acquired Nick Fortes. We'll see how many or how much he plays behind the plate. It was a busy trade deadline. Oh, forgot about this one. I talked at length about this one. Steven Matz goes to the Red Sox. He's going to join their bullpen for Blaze Jordan. And this one, Blaze Jordan kind of just continues on the line of power-oriented first basemen that just don't ever seem to get regular playing time on the Cardinals. Luke Voit, Luken Baker, Blaze Jordan. And I know that a lot of people think higher of him than that. That's where I'm sitting. So I don't know. Anyway, there's the trade deadline recap. I know I didn't talk about all of them, glanced over some of them, but certainly some very interesting things to happen. And those roles will be defined more as the weekend goes on. So as I know more, as I see more, of course, I will mention it on this podcast. There were 3 games that occurred yesterday as well on trade deadline day. Looking at some of the highlights from those, Cole Young for the Mariners hit a triple and a home run. So hopefully he's breaking out a little bit. He struggled at the outset of his career, but he's really good. He's really, really good. And a big fan of him. The only guy I like better than him, honestly, is Michael Arroyo, but that's a whole different conversation. Cal Raleigh also hit his 42nd home run of the season, which is a lot considering trade deadline is roughly halfway. Yikes. A little over halfway, but you know what I mean. Ellie De La Cruz hit his 19th home run of the season, and Ke'Bryan Hayes, I mentioned earlier, he hit a home run, as did Spencer Steer. So maybe Hayes can start lifting the ball a little bit more. That would be fun. And then a few pitchers to mention. George Kirby went 6 scoreless innings, struck out 6, and allowed 3 hits, as George Kirby seems to have settled in coming off of his injury. Kumar Rocker struck out 3 over 4 2/3 innings and allowed 3 runs. Not his best. Andrew Abbott was not on, as he seems to have been all year. So he had kind of an off day. He walked 5 batters, gave up a pair of earned runs over 5 1/3 innings while striking out 1. Those are the main highlights from the trio of games that happened yesterday. We're going to take a quick timeout. We come back. We're going to look at some of the pitchers coming up today, the day after the trade deadline. So stick around. That'll be coming up in just a moment. Once again, my name is Trevor Hooth, and this is the First Pitch Podcast on Pitcher List. And welcome back to the First Pitch Podcast on Pitcher List. My name is Trevor Hooth. Trade deadline recap. I can't believe I was the one who got to do it. That was a lot of fun. Let's take a look at some of the pitchers coming up today. Joe Ryan, I put him down here just because he better strike a bunch of dudes out. I don't know if the Twins actively have enough players to put guys behind him and field the team, because they traded everyone. Everyone's gone. So hopefully he can strike everybody out. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with Joe Ryan, but obviously a good pitcher, fun guy to have out there. Just very curious what that defense is going to look like behind him. Moving on, the A's, the Athletics, they are expected to promote top pitching prospect Luis Morales. I don't technically know for sure if that's the game today. At this moment, I know that they are planning to call him up, and I know that it is listed as TBD at the time that I read it and am doing this podcast in terms of recording. If it is him, pick him up. Add him. If he's available, go for it. Big endorsement for me. He is a live arm with nasty, nasty stuff. Command is a little iffy at times, but when it is on, it is strikeout city for him. He has a huge ceiling, probably a mid-rotation to 2 ceiling, I would say, based purely on the fact that he has nasty stuff with strikeout potential. He's been pitching well in the minors, and if it is truly him today, which I believe it is, I am all in on what he's going to be at the big league level. White Sox also listing TBD. I haven't seen this, and I saw this one place, so I'm just going to mention it. I think it's Shane Smith. Shane Smith has been out with an injury. He's thrown a few bullpens. They were trying to get him back without rehab. He has not gone on a rehab assignment, but he is a potential option in that game. So Shane Smith might be returning for the White Sox. Shane Smith fan here, so I'm good with that. There are also a few other teams who are listed as TBD, and that's probably going to happen just because of all the moving and shaking that happened thanks to the trade deadline. Boston is still listed as TBD, and I haven't seen who's going there. And there was one other team, I can't remember who off the top of my head, but there are certainly some things to pay attention to in terms of who's going to be starting certain places. And going to end with the matchup of the day: Logan Gilbert versus Jack Leiter. Obviously, Logan Gilbert is Logan Gilbert. He's a fun one. Always good. Jack Leiter is going to be the interesting one. He's going against this revamped Mariners lineup. He has had good games. It seems like he's looked a little bit better. When he's on, he can absolutely handle a lineup like this and be someone you trust. But I feel like it's just been not as good as you want it to be. I am still very interested in Jack Leiter constantly. I think this is going to be a fun matchup. Logan Gilbert, Jack Leiter. That is the matchup of the day. Make sure to check out pitcherlist.com for the top 100 pitchers, hitters, relievers, and all the other great written content. I appreciate you joining me here on the First Pitch Podcast. My name is Trevor Hooth, and of course, the First Pitch Podcast is brought to you by Pitcher List.